And welcome back to the North Star Takes podcast with Bailey Palicki and Jacob Liberta. You can find all our videos here on our YouTube channel, so feel free to smash that subscribe button if you enjoy quality Minnesota sports content. You can give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram as well. We're trying to grow a community on those platforms as well. Today we're going to be discussing the Minnesota Vikings' first preseason football game, which it seems like it's taken forever to get to this point. We're moving through the dog days of training camp right now. They're going through joint practices with the Denver Broncos as well for the past several days here. So, what are your thoughts? I mean, it's going to be tough because I don't think a lot of the starters are going to play. Mm-hmm. So that'll make it a little less interesting. But what's always intriguing about the Vikings is they always seem to have some backup players that are intriguing, guys you want to get to see more, especially this year with like having a Kellen Mond and even Jake Browning, who's been phenomenal in training camp. So I guess to start off with, how much do you think the starters will play, if at all, especially like the main ones like Kirk Cousins? I'm guessing Dalvin probably won't play. Jefferson won't play. How much do you think the starters will play? And then who are you looking forward to seeing the most outside of that group?
Yeah, we're kind of in some uncharted territory here coming into this game with the Broncos because this is going to be the first year where the NFL is only having three preseason games as opposed to the four. Not obviously off of last year having none, but as far as the starters and how much the ones are going to play, I'd imagine a guy like Kirk will probably play a drive. It's usually what he does in our preseason opener. And then, like you mentioned, Dalvin, I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't see Dalvin at all in the preseason.
There's no need.
I feel like there's no point to that, especially with running back. I feel like that's just so overrated. Yeah. And then, especially when he's Dalvin. He knows this offense like the back of his hand. He's one of the best running backs, if not the best running back in football. So it's like, why risk injury? There's more to risk than there is to gain from those reps.
Yeah.
And then as far as receivers go, I honestly probably wouldn't expect to see a lot of Thielen or Jefferson either. Mm-mm. Probably maybe a drive along with Kirk. But even then, after the injury scare with Jefferson in camp, I feel like they're not going to risk it that much either. So they'll probably give guys like KJ Osborne and Chad Beebe and them a lot of time to shine. So I'd imagine we won't see the ones a lot. But as far as the guys I'm most looking forward to seeing playing, I know you mentioned Jake Browning at the top of this video. I think I'm really excited about him just because there's been a lot of camp buzz surrounding him. So we got to see if he's the real deal, see if he's truly going to be the backup quarterback, and if we'd feel comfortable about him potentially starting a game or two in place of Kirk, because Kirk's pretty durable, but I mean nobody can withstand COVID, especially when they're not vaccinated. But
yeah, that's true.
He's very susceptible, so this is a real possibility. So Browning to start for starters, and then I'd probably say this is kind of. Maybe it might sound a bit ridiculous, but I'm actually kind of looking forward to Greg Joseph. See how he kicks in a game situation. Just
Kickers.
Because I want to make sure we have a guy that looks comfortable out there and looks like he's in rhythm, and it just feels routine because he hasn't kicked in NFL games, like regular season games, since like 2018 on a consistent basis. So I think that's something I'm also looking forward to, just to see if it's going to be a disaster or not. So how about you, Bailey? What are you looking forward to as far as what we're going to take away from this preseason game?
Yeah, I'd say number one, obviously, is the quarterbacks. I'll be really interested to see if Jake Browning can actually play against another team and solidify himself as the backup quarterback, or if Kellen Mond shows that he's clearly the far superior player, but the Vikings just have him further down the depth chart right now because he was out for a week or so. Outside of that, though, I'm really interested to see how the wide receivers behind Thielen and Jefferson are going to shake out. KJ Osborne's had a phenomenal training camp, and he's been super hyped up throughout this entire 2-week stretch here. And I just want to see if he can do it against another team. Last year, we didn't see him play any wide receiver snaps whatsoever, and there was no preseason to see him play wide receiver as well. He wasn't great at returner. It'll be interesting to see who they have lining up there. I know they released their initial depth chart, and they have Amir Abdullah as both the kick and punt returner, which
I don't see that.
I'm guessing that's not going to stick. So also seeing a guy like Amir Smith-Marsette, who's been kind of gaining momentum lately in the wide receiver race. Those guys are going to get a lot of playing time in the preseason, so this is going to be a huge opportunity for them to take some steps forward, develop their game, and be contributors in this offense, because I would be willing to bet one of Thielen or Jefferson gets hurt at some point this season and has to miss a game here or there. So to have reliable backup receivers would be huge, and hopefully we can push a guy like Chad Beebe out of the way when it comes to that. Also, I kind of want to see how the corners look as well. I'm not sure if a guy like Patrick Peterson's going to play that much, but I kind of want to see how Dantzler looks in year two. Bashad Breeland, bringing him in. Mackenzie Alexander, if he's going to be healthy. We saw that he had a hamstring injury today at practice, so we'll see if he's able to come back from that quickly. yeah, just kind of see how these corners are looking. It should look a lot different than last year, hopefully. So that's the main hope there. But what do you think about the young pass rushers? I think this is going to be an interesting group as well. You got DJ Wanham, Patrick Jones, Janarius Robinson. And then you have other guys like Kenny Willekes, who was hurt last year, who was a 7th-round pick. So who do you think can emerge out of this group and really solidify themselves in this preseason?
Boy, I think it's anybody's race here. I think anybody could potentially set themselves apart from the rest, because I think all these guys are at a pretty similar level as far as just raw talent goes. So it's just whoever rises to the occasion and lives up to the big moment. I mean, obviously it's a preseason game, but I mean, you're fighting for potentially a starting job opposite Danielle Hunter, which that'd be awesome for all those guys. So I'm probably looking towards DJ Wanham mostly, I'd imagine. But going into the rookies like Patrick Jones and Janarius Robinson, I kind of want to see what they got, just because this will be the first time you've seen those guys in Vikings uniforms. That's always exciting. That's what I love about the rookies in the preseason. It's the first time you finally get to basically unveil your draft class and see what they got. But obviously there's only so much you can take away from a preseason game. But you like to see guys like pass rushers, especially just win blocks, and especially when they're one-on-one with guys that are backup level players, when these guys will be probably getting snaps in a game this week against the Broncos. So I don't know. I think if I had to lean, like I said, if I had to lean one way, I'd probably go with DJ Wanham. But I mean, I'm excited to see all of them and see what they can really do as far as getting after the quarterback. Yeah,
I'm with you with DJ Wanham. I think there's just so much potential there. He's been compared to Danielle Hunter. Whether or not that's fair, I don't know. We also know that Andre Patterson loves him and loves to move him around. So he's going to be an interesting piece for sure. I'd say the one area that I'm truly concerned about right now is, once again, the offensive line. Apparently Christian Darrisaw is just kind of in and out of practice. He's practiced some, then he hasn't practiced with this groin injury he's battling. It's become pretty clear that he's not going to be the starting left tackle, I don't think, week one. But it'd be nice to at least get him in some preseason games. But Mike Zimmer came out and said that he doesn't know if Darrisaw is going to play this week against the Broncos. So that makes me a little nervous. I mean, this guy needs to start. I mean, he's a first-round pick. He's going to make the team. But this guy needs to start taking some live reps against other people for sure. And even in camp, he hasn't really done any 11-on-11 type stuff. So he's got some catching up to do for sure. Wyatt Davis is kind of buried on the depth chart as well. He's healthy now, so hopefully he can kind of work his way up, at least get past Dakota Dozier. It's kind of looking like they want to roll with Oli Udoh at right guard to start the season. So that'll be interesting, converting him from tackle to guard. So what are your quick thoughts on the offensive line situation?
Boy, it kind of feels like a mess right now, obviously, with all these guys coming and going, being injured and whatnot, because obviously you had Darrisaw wasn't participating in these team drills, and then you got Davis kind of having a lingering injury there. But then also even Rashad Hill was missing some practices too pretty recently. So that's kind of concerning. And the fact, we're not even in the first preseason game, let alone week one. So that kind of scares me a little bit. But again, kind of got to pump the brakes too, just because we are still a little ways in the regular season to have time to really put it all together and fine tune everything. And probably don't see Darrisaw starting week one, but eventually I think he will.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, he's still first round talent, so looking forward to just see what he's got, and get him up to speed with the NFL game. But I think we have to just get by with a guy like Rashad Hill, assuming he's healthy. I'm fine with that. And seeing a guy like Oli Udoh too, I'm actually pretty excited about that, because I think he's been a project offensive lineman that I've been pretty high on ever since we got him. So I want to see if he's any good. I mean, I would like to think he'll at least be better than Drew Samia and Dakota Dozier.
Can't get any worse, you'd think.
Yeah, so finally get to see all this potential that he's kind of had, that people pretty deep with the Vikings would know the name and know his progress at this point. He played in that Week 17 game against the Bears 2 years ago and win that playoff spot locked up. And he played pretty well there, albeit at tackle, and he's never played guard in the NFL, so that's kind of a shot in the dark maybe a little bit. But this offensive line right now, it's kind of a disaster. But we still got a few weeks to go, so I can live with it.
Yeah, luckily, at least in the beginning of the season, you'll have the Bengals and the Arizona Cardinals, who J.J. Watt is hurt currently, and I don't know if Chandler Jones is actually going to be playing or not. He wants to be traded. I haven't heard much more on that front. So then Seattle, who doesn't really have a feared pass rusher. So at least to start off the season, they'll be okay in terms of facing dominant pass rushers. Lastly, before we wrap up here, the interesting part on the other side of the ball for Denver is that it's going to be the return of Teddy Bridgewater coming back to Minneapolis and playing the Vikings. Obviously, Teddy was beloved by the fans here. He's battling for a starting quarterback spot with Drew Lock. I guess, are you excited to see him play and see if he's maybe a little better than he was with Carolina last year?
Yeah, I'm a big Teddy guy, honestly. I go all the way back to when he first got drafted. I was like, this felt like this was going to be the guy and then especially after we won that division title in 2015, won 11-5, and he just was a good leader, and he facilitated the offense to what we were. Albeit, I think we still had a lot of room to grow, but I mean, we won 11 games, and I can't say the same for Kirk in 3 seasons here. So that's something to take away from that. But I also think after that knee injury, that was boy, that crushed me. But
that was rough.
And then that was basically the end of the Teddy era here. So I always root for him, though. He's a likable guy. He's a player everybody gravitates towards. So I think he's got that going for him too, as far as being a leader. And I'll always root for him, and I hope he wins that starting job over Drew Lock, just out of personal bias. But
same.
How about you?
Yeah, I think Denver's a team that could challenge for a playoff spot, honestly, and to see Teddy kind of lead him back there would be awesome. I was a big Teddy guy as well. Obviously, it didn't work out here with the injury, and I think we've kind of learned that Teddy probably isn't the best option we could have had. So even though we're not big Kirk guys, Kirk is a better quarterback.
Oh, yes.
Doesn't necessarily have the clutch gene like Teddy necessarily, but it'll be interesting to see Teddy come back and play the Vikings. It should be a fun preseason matchup at least. So
nice and lighthearted for a preseason game.
For sure. So that's going to do it for this edition of the North Star Takes podcast. Be sure to like our videos and stay tuned for more content by hitting that subscribe button. Be sure to spread the word to your friends as well. We're quickly growing with our subscriber count, and we're super thankful for everyone that's subscribed so far. So feel free to give us a follow on Instagram and Twitter as well, and thanks for watching.